Okay, so all the Muslims, in fact, non-Muslims also, let's sit down and have a quick chat about Mr. Yusuf Qasim. This is not about the Islamophobia. Also, please, the blue is purely coincidental. Let's listen to this clip quickly.
This is perhaps a more personal issue, but it is an issue that aligns with the values of the organization that I represent, is the discrimination that exists within the higher education sector. We know that it affects many of the South Africans from our own Muslim community, but it affects all South Africans from different groupings where you have individuals that are accepted not on the basis of merit, that there are admission requirements that are done on the basis of other criteria such as race, etc. And it has forced many of our children and our peers to have to seek to further their studies in China and in other countries abroad. And it has really disrupted their pursuit.
Now, some of you might have already caught on to where my concerns are. Let's talk about this idea of merit-based selection. These are pictures of schools in South Korea. This is what schools look like in South Korea. Mind you, schools in every part of the country, even in the most rural parts of the country, look like this. My wife used to be a teacher in one of these rural schools or at one of these rural schools, and it looks just like this. Mind you, it's so rural that a bus only comes around once every hour. So you can imagine. So when the quality of your classrooms, when the resources that you use are all at the best level, when your teachers are all well trained and kids all have access to the same education, calling for a merit-based system makes sense. No doubt. But we know that that's not the case in South Africa. South Africa is the most income unequal country in the world, which means that economically we are also the most unequal. There's a very small minority of people who live at the top and who enjoy the luxuries and the comforts of what a beautiful South Africa could look like. But there's still a vast majority of South Africans who still dream of that. So in order for Yusuf Qasim to bring about this merit-based change, it would be important that we first see that the quality of education gets leveled out, that every South African child gets the same quality of education. And we know that that's not going to happen anytime soon. So the fact that this was his first priority is very concerning for me. And I'll show you why. This comes from the General Household Survey of 2024. And this table shows us the racial breakdown, the percentage breakdown in higher education. So blacks, the vast majority, at now 77% as of 2024. Coloreds at 6%, Indians at 6%, and whites at 1%. Many will look at that table and say, this is why my kids, this is why I was not selected to go to such and such a university. This is why I was rejected. And like in the words of Mr. Yusuf Qasim, why some of a certain community has to go to China or wherever else to go and study, making it difficult for them, in his words. But there's a very important line that's right below that table in the document, and it says, even though most students are Black African, the education participation rate of this population group remains proportionally low in comparison with the Indian/Asian and white population groups. Now let's look at this table. This table shows us what percentage of people from each racial group are actually represented in university. Black South Africans in 2002 was only 2.9% of the entire black population who were at universities or at higher education institutions. And now it's at 4.6%. Coloreds at 4.5%. Indian Asian at 21%. Whites at 14.5%. Let's also remember that when we talk about the inequality of schools in South Africa, it's not just what the classroom looks like. It's not just the training of the teachers. It's not just the resources, but it's also the economic and social background and circumstances that these kids have to live in. Many of these kids in public schools can't have mommy and daddy take them to school every day and bring them home. They have to take a taxi. They've got to walk. They've got to take the train. And many of them have to move through very dangerous areas. And yet both of those groups are competing for the same matric certificate to get into the same universities. So where is the real inequality here? My point is to say, that Yusuf Qasim's intended change will only work if we first see that the quality of education that every South African receives is the same. And the second thing that I want to touch on is this comment, where someone compared Yusuf Qasim to Zohran Mamdani. You see, these two individuals perhaps could not be more different. Zohran Mamdani identifies himself as a democratic socialist. Yusuf Qasim belongs to a political party that follows a very capitalist ideology. Strong lead towards privatization and minimum regulation from government. In a country that is as unequal as South Africa is, this would be an absolute disaster. These two are not the same. Please understand that. And lastly, let's not forget that he is also a member of a political party that is funded by some of the biggest Zionists in our country. And he's okay with that. My moral compass doesn't allow me to look beyond that. Perhaps yours might be different. And if it is, let me know in the comments.